Alright, Uncle Dave with DEECEE's Adventures, and I'm coming back at you with another plant identification video. Today we'll be looking at the common bull thistle. It's considered a weed in most places. You might find it growing on your lawn, you'll find it a lot of roadsides. Before we really get into this plant and look at the plant itself, let's take a look at the Peterson field guide book and see what it has to say about it. Alright. Thistles, or the boral thistle in our case, biennials with deeply cut prickly leaves and showy rose purple shaving brush flowers. I'm not really sure what that means. Numerous species shown. Used as salad, which means just eating it raw, like celery, cooked greens, cooked vegetables. You can cook the whole plant up as long as you process it properly. With the spines removed, the young leaves can be added to salad or cooked as greens. The pithy young stems are excellent peeled and eaten raw or cooked. Raw cooked roots are the first year plants. Those without stems are a fine survival food. Spring and fall. Spring to fall, actually. This is bull thistle, and there's a colored picture on plate 10 that we'll take a look at after this. And it says, note the prickly winged stems and the rigid yellow tip spines on the brackets of the 1 to 3 large flower heads. Which actually we have like 5, 6 flower heads on ours. 2 to 6 feet tall, and they get about 4 feet here in Maine. Where found, pastures, roadsides, waste areas, and throughout. Flowers from June to October, which it's August right now, and they're just going into flower right now here in Maine. So let's take a quick look at the colored plate that they have here in this book. There it is, bull thistle. That's a pretty good picture. You'll recognize those. You should see them all over the place. And it says, with the stiff, bristly spines, thistles seem unlikely food plants. However, when properly prepared, their balsam leaves, young stems, and first-year roots all provide palatable dishes, spring through fall. So this is a really good survival food. It's good to recognize because it's pretty much edible through the entire summer. Alright, so that's enough with the Peterson guidebook. Let's go to the wild edible itself and take a look at the plant. Alright, so there it is, the bull thistle, and this is at its very beginnings, infancy right here for it. Like we said, common weed in most areas. You find it in drainage areas, alongside highways, even anywhere where they've cut for trees and stuff. It's pretty much a common weed, but here it is, right here, full force. That's it, full grown, and as you can see, the flower is just starting to open, and the flower itself isn't spiky, but everything else is very spiky, and I mean hypodermic type needle on these. They're one of the few plants where the needles are so thin that if you touch it at all, it usually sticks into you. It doesn't cause much irritation or anything, which is interesting because most thorns do cause some sort of irritation, but here it is, and this one here is actually in a relative's yard. But I'm going to show you here how to process it, and it's going to be hard here on camera. But I'm gonna come down on the plant here. See, and we're gonna cut all these spikes off. See? Now that I've got the spikes off, I can handle it. So I'm gonna cut this right here, and then I'll bring you guys back on the tripod. Alright, here we go. This is actually a younger one. Those first two we looked at, the first one was far too young and didn't even have a shoot on it. And then the second one, with all those flowers coming up on the top, It's just a little old, like any other edible plant. Usually when they get old, they get more fibery and harder to chew and not so tasty. So I went and grabbed one that's a lot smaller, and you can see here that the flower hasn't even really developed or reached off. And it's also, right now it's August 1st. So that's about the time of the year that these are about this large. And they're really best during early spring, or when the shoots are first just getting off. Then they're really going to be tasting the best. But you can eat these pretty far into the season. So here we are. We're going to just scrape everything off of them, the spines. And depending on what you want to eat, I'm not going to eat these today, but like the book said, you can use these leaves. Bull thistle is a high-risk food as far as I'm concerned, because it's one of these foods, if you don't process it right, it can give you a lot of pain and suffering. So these leaves can be cooked up like greens, but you got to make sure that you really follow all around the leaf and get any thorn out, because if you can see there, the thorns aren't just on the very tips. There's some thorns on the inner of the leaf right here, all the way almost to the inner lobe of the leaf here. So you need to make sure you're processing all the spikes off of the leaves if you're going to use the leaves. And obviously these leaves are even a little too old. You would really ideally be using the leaves off of spring plants in the beginning. And excuse any sound that you hear. Today I'm not filming out at the survival property. I'm filming kind of in town area. So we're going to finish getting these cleaned up here. And this stalk here, once you get it all cleaned up, especially as you get towards the top here, it gets greener. You'll feel it with your knife. The nice green vegginess to it. And again, you're just trying to get all the spikes, make sure that this thing's all cleaned up properly. But see, the top of this cut a lot easier than the bottom because of the fiber and how fibery it is. But these things right here, yeah, they're starting to taste a little bitter this year and this late in the year too. You really want to get them before that. But in general, they just taste like some celery. Kind of a little more bitter than celery, but earlier in the year you get it, less bitterness you're going to get with it. So another thing is, as they get older, the end here is really woody, and has woody stalk to it. And this is the first one that we were looking at with all the flowers, and you can see as you remove this, there's a large pith in the middle that's really woody. So this is pretty late in the year for this, but you know, this plant does provide some sort of food pretty much all summer long, and easily identifiable, but very dangerous to handle. So there we are. There's the bull thistle, a common weed found all over the United States, most of Canada, and probably even parts of Mexico. It good, reliable, edible when it's in season. So as always, Uncle Dave with DEECEE's Adventures. Thank you for joining me on another plant identification video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.